This Cape Atlantic Live production of Mainland Regional Football is brought to you by Charlie's Bar and Restaurant, The Docks Place, Giorio's Bar and Grill, Shore Orthopedic, Golden Nugget Atlantic City Casino Hotel and Marina, Edmunds GovTech, Darcy Johnson Day Law Firm, and Ulmer's Appliance Service. This is the Chuck Smith Show on Cape Atlantic Live, giving you the latest news on all things Mainland Regional Football. Now here's your host, Nick Costco, and Mustangs head coach, Chuck Smith.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live. I'm your host, Nick Costco, and with me, as always, is Mainland head coach Chuck Smith. Coach, appreciate you joining me, as always, week to week. And, of course, you guys are now still alive, of course, 10-0 on the season, coming off a quarterfinal victory over Manalapan in the first round of the South Jersey Group 4 playoff sectionals. It was a big dominating win by you guys, 56-20, and you'll be taking on Colts Neck, the 3 seed, coming up at home on Friday night. So obviously, instant reaction to that one over Manalapan. It was a pretty competitive game, I would say, in that first half. Manalapan was very physical, as you mentioned last week. They cut it within 14, but then you guys ultimately just took over and ran away before halftime and kind of cruised in that second half.
Yeah, Nick. We knew they were going to be a physical, they were a run-heavy type of team coming into the ball game. A lot of size up front. We really needed to come out of the gates and establish ourselves right away. And we were able to do that in the first quarter. I think we put up 21 points in the first quarter. But like you said, they cut it down to 14 points. And then we were able to kind of get it going again in the second quarter and kind of put the game away there in the second quarter. They scored twice in the second half. But the game was really out of reach by halftime, but that was a tribute to just our defense shutting them down. I think they only had 20 yards rushing, 20-something yards rushing total in the ball game. They had some passing success on us, and then our offense was just rolling in all aspects. I think we scored on every possession except for the very last one of the game. So, the kids came out firing on all cylinders, and it's always nice to get that first playoff victory underneath and go on to the next round.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned going into this week how you guys love playing week to week, keeping that momentum going, keeping the consistency going. And we had the conversation last week about how sometimes it might be tough to get up for even a playoff game, which is kind of hard to believe. But knowing that some of these matchups, we see it across the state, they are mismatches on paper. And I'm not saying right off the bat this was a mismatch between you guys and Manalapan. Obviously, they did bring the fight. You guys just overran them in the end. But you mentioned how these kids got up, and it seemed like they really did, as you just mentioned, scoring on every possession, multiple turnovers in the game, obviously. And then you looking ahead, you guys are just, again, on this train, just rolling through the bracket once again.
Yeah, it was. We didn't take them lightly at all, even though they entered the game at 4-4. But a couple of weeks ago, like we said last week, they upset an undefeated team, Point Pleasant Borough. So we knew what they were capable of doing. And the more you watch film, the scarier they were. We were just fortunate to get it going. And when things got to be a little lopsided, it's very hard to come back from that, especially when you're a run heavy type team and passing is not your forte. But they did do a nice job throwing the ball against us. It's something that we're glad it happened in that situation. We were able to win the game because we know that's something we're going to have to tune up this week as we prepare for the next round.
Yeah, Colts Neck coming up on Friday at 6 p.m. So another one on this game against Manalapan from Friday night for those who did not see it. It was 56-20, a victory for your Mustangs, now 10-0 on the season. So I'm thinking about this, and you mentioned how big they were, especially up front on the offensive line. And they really predicated their offense on balancing out the run game, but it seemed like they only went to a one running back approach, and it was pretty much shut down by your defense. And as you mentioned before, it just turned it into a more of a passing type of game for them, which they hit a couple passes and had some big plays, but other than that, you guys pretty much shut down their offense once you contain that running game early on.
Yeah, we knew we had to take care of the run game, and because that was their thing. And our defense has done a tremendous job all season long of knocking down opponents' run games. And, it's a tribute to our defensive staff of Tim Watson, the defensive coordinator, Antoine Lewis, Billy Kern back there, Clyde Folsom, coaching our linebackers with Andrew Monroe and Andre Clements in secondary. And then the kids, our defensive line of Ethan Schock and Dan DeFeo, Zach Hodges, Matt Mewitt's got in there and played. Our outside linebackers, Hunter Watson, Cohen Cook, and our inside guys, J.J. Sinclair and Rocco DiBiaso. I mean, they really put a lot of effort into and understanding the schemes that we were using to attack the multiple formations and looks that they had. The kids really studied the film hard and what we prepared for in practice to try to knock down their top plays, and they came out and executed that to a T.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned your entire defense right there. It might as well just be an all-star team for you guys here in South Jersey with the way those guys have played all season long. And, of course, the veteran guys on that team as well playing for the last couple of years. So let's take a look at a couple highlights from the game on Friday as I obviously screw up the transition right here. But that's all good. So we're going to go right into this first touchdown right here for you guys.
Okay.
To get up 7-0. What'd you see on this first play?
Yeah, we were seeing how they were adjusting to some of our motions, and that was a fourth down play right there. We had just gotten a penalty to push us back. It was 4th and short. We got a penalty and pushed it back, and then our quarterback made his read. He has a progression of reads, and he took it to the second read on that one. And Jamie, who's just playing better every week, Jamie Tyson, our wide receiver and cornerback, playing tremendous week to week now. Made an unbelievable catch on that with his concentration, of fingertip ball, pulling it in, just getting it in just in time before he crossed that back line of the end zone to give us that quick score on the first possession of the game that we had. It was just a good effort by the quarterback, great protection by our offensive line and the running backs involved in that scheme because it's a max protection scheme that we use on that play. And Jamie just run underneath that football.
Yeah, I feel like Jamie Tyson's a guy who's been really excelling as a wide receiver as of late. It's not that he never did, but it seems like over the last 3 to 4 weeks, he's really come into his own because he is going to play football at the next level at Villanova next year. And as we've talked about, might be making that transition to cornerback full time. But I feel like he is emerging as one of the better and bigger big play threats in South Jersey, if not the entire state, with the way he just extends a defense and obviously making plays like that.
Yeah, he came on last year as a receiver. They had over 400 yards receiving last year and 6 touchdown passes. We didn't throw the ball as much. I was just looking at the stats today when I finished them up and comparing them to last year. And he's already, and our passing game is past what we did last year already. And that was one of the things we knew we had to get better at this season was our passing attack. And I mentioned that a few weeks ago on the show. And that's a tribute to the scheme and the kids employing that scheme. From the protection standpoint to our quarterback has gotten better week to week also with his reads, and his completion percentage has continued to climb in the last 4 weeks. And, and Jamie being that threat, but, it's not just about Jamie. There's other guys that we've been tossing the ball around to also because we can't just be one dimensional because a lot of teams can scheme you to take away your top receiver.
Mm-hmm.
We're fortunate that we have a couple other guys that we can throw it around to also that are just as capable as Jamie is.
No doubt. John Franchini, your sophomore quarterback, 3 touchdown passes on the Friday night win and to open up the playoffs, including 1-2 you mentioned before on defense, and he's known for that. Hunter Watson caught his first touchdown of the season as well. Real quick on Hunter Watson, I know he has not been a big play threat or even much of a receiving threat, but I mean he can get out there, he can get open. He's a big athlete, he's a big dude. I mean, people know him for his pass rush, but I mean he can get open as a big tight end as well.
Yeah, he's been a stalwart for us on defense this year. And he's been our tight end the whole year. He's done a very good job blocking. In fact, it was probably his best game this past week, blocking-wise. And it's funny, the past 2 weeks, the quarterback has come over to me on the sideline and when we've been in the red zone and has said to me, and I'm very tuned in during the game, so it's not always good to say something to me. And he said, can we throw it to Hunter? Can we throw it to Hunter? And he did that on the touchdown the other night. And when we got to the next play, we called a play that he was one of the options on. And John just found him right in the end zone for that touchdown before halftime.
Absolutely. He's a big target. Really can't miss him. So let's look ahead to the second highlight we have for the folks at home. This is Cohen Cook. His touchdown to put you guys up 14-0. And Stephen Ordilli's been the guy this year, Coach, but obviously Cohen Cook, no slouch himself, and he had a lot of carries on Friday night, and he really made the most of them.
Yeah, when we were doing stats, he ran this is just a simple off-tackle power play, but Cohen is such a gifted athlete. He's got size, speed. You can see his playmaking ability right there, just on cutting back in his vision. Just a great athlete. He had a 99 yards rushing the other night, I think on 9 carries or something like that, and a couple touchdowns. And he's really come on the last couple of weeks also in the run game and in the passing game as a receiver. I think last week he had 4 touchdowns in the game, 2 receiving and 2 running the ball against EHT. Had I think another game ago he had like 100 20 yards rushing, so he just popped the 500-yard mark rushing. And Stephen Ordilli, like you mentioned before, has been our go-to guy most of the season. And he just eclipsed 1,000 yards rushing this past week. But it's nice because like we said before, teams can scheme to take something away from you. And it's nice when you can have other options available. And if somebody wants to scheme to take our fullback game away, we still have two pretty talented halfbacks back there also to can run the football for us and carry the load.
And that's a beautiful transition to the other guy who's on that list. That's Rocco DiBiaso. He got loose and also scored. This put you guys up by 4 scores in the second quarter.
Yeah, Rocco's been a two-way ball player for us this year, starting at inside linebacker, and he plays the right halfback position for us in our offense. He was a guy that was like Jabril Mace's backup last year, so he just got spot time last year, and he's more than capable of being the guy. Believe me, he's got tremendous vision, strength, a burst of speed, which you can see right there. He's probably the most physical and punishing ball carrier that we have in our offense. And Rocco's just and the thing that's good about our offense too is everybody has to block in this offense that we run. And Rocco, Steven, and Cohen are just unbelievable blockers. And it doesn't matter if they only carry the ball 2 times a game and they're throwing blocks, that's what they do. And that's what they pride themselves on. Then there might be some games where they carry the ball 9, 10, 11, 12 times a game. And that's what we rely on. The other guys got to do the blocking, So it's a great backfield that we have, and the way that everybody just shares the load, and nobody is the superstar back there. Everybody's the same.
Absolutely. You mentioned how physical Rocco is, and obviously Stephen Ordilli and Cohen Cook, very physical running backs as well, and they're blocking and also running the football. I think Rocco had a hit on defense. I forget if it was a sack or a tackle for loss, but, you could hear the shoulder pads and the helmets crash from up in the booth. I can't remember exactly which play it was. It had to have been the second or third quarter, but he just lights it up when he sees the ball on defense. He flies to the football.
Yeah, it's been different. Like at Mainland, historically, we've had mostly a 2-platoon type system. Until the last couple of years, where we've had a lot of we'll say 1.5 or 2-way ball players, and Cohen and Rocco and Steve are true two-way ball players. They play both sides of the football. We get them a little spell on offense here and there. With some of the depth we have in the backfield to give them a breather every so often for a series off. But yeah, they can play the full 48 minutes, which is really nice. And that's a tribute to their work ethic during practice all week, because we take a lot of pride in our conditioning and the way we run our practices. And the kids really don't have any time to loaf around. We always try to make practice way harder than Friday night's going to be, so that Friday can be easy for them. And thank God it's worked out that way so far.
Friday's easy, and Friday is always fun, as you said. We'll knock on wood right there. Another 2-way guy, of course, and last highlight for the folks at home right there is another Jamie Tyson highlight. And again, it's hard to keep this guy off the highlight reel right here. This is his pick 6 in the second quarter to really put this game away before halftime.
Yeah, this was like a swing. I think in a matter of 3 minutes, we scored 21 points. We had just scored a touchdown, had a great kickoff. Our kicker, Nate Cashy, has been tremendous the last few weeks. Also, the sophomore kicker we have. He had 8 PATs the other night. He was doing a great job on kickoff team of pinning the ball deep, and our coverage was able to make the tackle inside the 20 numerous times. And that set up a great field position play for us, where Jamie read the play, sat on it. The ball was a little high, and he picked it off and scored. And then I think that was right after we had just scored, and then we held him again and got another touchdown right before halftime. So it kind of put the game away right there. So when we went in halftime, we could concentrate on some other things.
I do actually want to give a shout out to Nate Cashy. He's one of the better kickers I've seen over the past couple of years, and you guys are known for pretty good kickers. Obviously, Jim Cooper comes to mind, kicker and punter. I don't know, is he in the Hall of Fame yet for you guys? He might. I think he just got inducted, or he's great at this point.
Yeah, I played with Coop back in the early 80s at Mainland, and he made my job easy. I got a letter as a sophomore just because I was on kickoff team and never had to make a tackle, because he always put it in the end zone. But Coop was a coach with us for a long time through the 90s. Developed a lot of great kickers, Jason Feinberg, Ken Dudnick. We've had a lot of kickers, like you said before. Chris Maddock, Slaughter-Off, all these guys have been all South Jersey, all conference, setting records all time. And Nate is right there. In fact, Nate just passed all those guys in career PATs this past game. He has the most PATs in school history. He's only a sophomore. But he goes to Coop still, because Coop has old Coop has a kicking business, 5-star kicking, and he tutors many of the kids in South Jersey, not just high school kids, but also college athletes too. And he's got a great facility up there on Route 73 in the middle of a cornfield. It's like Field of Dreams for football kickers. It's in the middle of a cornfield with uprights and a little piece of turf in the middle part, but grass all around it. And he's really, it's neat the way the game has evolved with Jim Cooper. He takes a lot of pride in filming the kids, going through all the technical aspects of kicking with them. And everybody that's been a student of his has been a tremendous kicker for the most part. And Nate's one of those guys, and he takes a lot of pride in his craft.
Yeah, I can only imagine how good he's going to be his last 2 years of high school. Obviously, still a couple more games, that, God willing, for you guys left here in 2023. Maybe, hey, you never know. Maybe Hall of Fame and a number retired for him. He already broke the PAT record, so maybe more in store for him. So we'll take a quick break, Coach. We'll look ahead to Colts Neck coming up on Friday for your sectional semifinal game as you guys host a 3-2 matchup. It'll be a good one. So keep it locked here. Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live.
This Cape Atlantic Live production of Mainland Regional Football is brought to you by Charlie's Bar and Restaurant, The Doc's Place, Diorio's Bar and Grill, Shore Orthopedic, Golden Nugget Atlantic City Casino Hotel and Marina, Edmonds GovTech, Darcy Johnson Day Law Firm, and Ulmer's Appliance Service.
Welcome back to the Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live. I'm your host, Nick Costco, and of course with me is Mainland head coach Chuck Smith, the 10-0 Mainland Regional Mustangs as they head into the South Jersey Group 4 sectional semifinals this week. I know that was a mouthful, but we'll just call it the sectional semifinals. How about that? Colts Neck coming to town. A good squad there, Coach, as you were able to kind of get a feel for them over the weekend. Just your first impressions of Colts Neck on tape as you guys now hit the final 4 stages of this sectional bracket.
They're an impressive team, impressive football program. They've won 6 of their last 7 football games. I think they opened up with 2 losses and then they got rolling. They have one of the best running backs in the state of New Jersey. He's their school's all-time leading rusher, has close to, I think, 4,000 yards in his career. He's got 20-plus touchdowns on the season right now. Watched a little bit of film yesterday before I went up to the game against Toms River South, their game at Colts Neck for the first round of playoffs. And I went up there, and I was very impressed with their football team. They have some nice size up front on the offensive line. They do a great job in their blocking schemes, and their backs block. And I don't think in all the film I watched every game of the season today. I don't think I really ever saw their running back go backwards. Number 21's a tremendous ball carrier. He's always going forward. He's not he's got a little bit of a burst to him, but he's not like a blazing fast kid. He's a very patient running back where when he's in the traffic, he seems to have great vision in there and is able to make a cut and continue moving forward. And their quarterback does a very good job of throwing the football. They run the ball primarily and they can lull you, but he's just as effective when he does the play action and find receivers downfield. I mean, I was watching the film today and I was really getting a little worried about their ability to throw the ball, and because I really thought they were run heavy. And the more I started watching film, they really are a well-balanced offense. And on defense, they don't do a lot, but they do it very well. They're very good at what they do. And the schemes that they run, they have some nice size on the defensive line. Their backers and their secondary, their safeties play quick, fast and force on run issues and stuff like that. It should be a good football game. That's the way it's supposed to be when you hit to the second round of the playoffs. And, it's funny because it's a South Jersey bracket and it took me an hour and 20 minutes to get up to the game, up there at Colts Neck. You get off the parkway and you think everything's just off the parkway when we live along the shore, but then I had to head another 40 minutes west, I think it was.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're probably getting up the parkway, heading up Route 34 and 33.
34 and then 18. But they're a good football team. They really are. And I've been impressed with the way they've kind of run the season, especially the second half of the season. And they beat some teams. They beat Long Branch, who was in the playoffs. They beat Manalapan 35-0, the team we just faced. That's like their arch rival within that district there. So we'll have our hands full Friday night. Thank God it's at the Mustang Corral for us.
Yeah, I was just about to mention it. It's an hour 20 drive up there to Colts Neck to get to that field, but they have to make that drive to Linwood coming on Friday. You mentioned Long Branch, who they did beat. They are in the opposite end of this bracket. Of course, they're in Central Group 4. They'll head out to Brick Memorial, and of course, Winslow hosts Hamilton. Speaking of other Cape Atlantic teams, but in your bracket right now, with you guys, along with Colts, it's Colts Neck against Mainland, and of course, Millville hosts Shawnee. So it seems like the best of the best are starting to kind of weed themselves out of the early parts of the bracket. Now, again, you mentioned the final, you get to the final fours of all these sectional brackets to really start setting up for some high profile matchups. I got to imagine this is one of the better weekends in New Jersey high school football where you get to all these sectional semifinals because you get favorites are going to move on to sectional finals. Some upsets are going to happen. Long Branch is a 6 seed for that instance in the other bracket. So I feel like this is quite the weekend coming up here in New Jersey.
Yeah, this is a round where you kind of see more of the upsets happen. The seeds that upset the higher seed. I think in the first round when I was just perusing through the brackets, I only noticed like in the Group 4 one, like one real upset. Where Jackson had lost. That was a higher seed. But this is a round where everybody's kind of evening out. There is no real high seed and the lower seed with a mismatch of a game kind of that you see. Kind of everything gets a little bit tighter now, and that's the way it should be. You get the better opponents now, so things will be a lot tighter all around. I think in all the brackets. But these are the games that the mistakes get magnified in. You really got to take care of the football, and can't have a lot of busts on plays and so forth because it could come down to a play or two that determines the outcome of the football game. So your concentration level has to be turned up another notch during this time.
Last one for you, Coach, on this game coming up on Friday. Now, you mentioned how everything kind of evens out. Do you stress that to your team now? Obviously, in your early Saturday meetings and then throughout the week leading up to this playoff game. Everyone knows it's playoffs, sectional semifinals. You guys want to get back to at least where you were last month further. Do you stress it to these guys now, knowing that there's never a cakewalk during the season, but this is a game that you really can't treat lightly or like the other ones in the past? I mean, do you stress it a little bit differently?
Yeah, I mean, we never take anybody lightly, no matter what their record is and where we are in the season, whatnot, But the kids know that this is so important now. They know that this is the playoffs. It's do or die. We want to be practicing next Saturday again, and they know, and you can tell that in practice. Practice has a different feel to it in the playoffs. During the season, there might be a little bit more of a jovialness going on and a little more kidding around and a little bit looser at times. But like I said, everybody's concentration level really has to tweak up a little bit here. We take a little bit more of the emphasis off of the hitting aspect and concentrate more on the mindset stuff that we're doing and the schemes and pulling those things. Because, we don't want to be banged up going into stuff. If we can't tackle by now, then we're in trouble. And we can't block by now, we're in trouble. So not that we don't go over those things, but we're not putting as much attention to detail with the hitting aspect of it, just so we can stay fresh for the big game. We don't need anybody getting hurt in practice and not being able to play on Friday night. But it is a different vibe on the practice field during this time. And as you advance in the playoffs, it gets turned up a notch every single round that you go forward in. And, I expect this week to be very, very tense during the practice times out there, because there's no need for goofing around when we're hitting this part, when it's a do or die situation week to week now.
Absolutely. Playoffs, no better time of the year in high school football. So catch that game. Colts Neck at Mainland, 6 p.m. on Cape Atlantic live from Linwood, New Jersey. Of course, the Mustang Corral playing host to the South Jersey Group 4 sectional semifinals as Mainland looks to get back to the sectional finals, repeat as sectional champs, and maybe even get back to a state semifinal, if not a state final this year. So, Coach, we'll see what happens, and we'll see you out there on Friday. Looking forward to it. As always, appreciate your time, again, every single week.
Hey, thanks a lot, Nick. I really appreciate all you do.
Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live.